Hare Krishna, dear devotees. My sincerest and humble obeisances to all of you. Hare Krishna Maharaj. Please accept our humble obeisances. We are very elated to have your association again in the final session, the concluding session of this Shravanotsav of Madhurya Kadambini, wherein we have heard about the 4 out of the 5 causes of distress, namely ignorance, false ego, material attachments, and envy. And as stated by Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakura, and also the solutions to those problems. Today, we will hear about the 5th one, which is mundane engagements. I hope you have been with us from the very first session. Nevertheless, if you are joining us for the first time, it is never too late. You can hear the recordings on our YouTube channel. So now I would like to invite Her Grace Yogini Mataji to instruct our listeners about the language interpretation on Zoom. So Mataji.
Thank you so much. Hare Krishna to all the devotees. Welcome. Hare Krishna, Gurudeva. Please accept my humble obeisances. So today we are going to have all the sessions will be again in English. However, again, we do have Portuguese speakers. So I will now explain the instructions to our Portuguese speakers. Então, Hare Krishna devotos, reverências. Por favor, se quiserem ouvir a tradução simultânea, se estiverem no desktop, cliquem no ícone do globo, no canto inferior direito da tela, vai aparecer um menu com as instruções com os canais. Por favor, escolham o português e depois podem clicar em áudio original para ver apenas o canal selecionado, se não, podem deixar aberto. E aqueles no celular, por favor, escolham o ícone mais, cliquem no ícone mais, os 3 pontinhos, depois cliquem no globo e vocês vão ver os canais, escolham português. E assim vocês poderão ter acesso à tradução simultânea. Muito obrigada. Hare Krishna, thank you very much. Over to you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much. So now let's have a look at the schedule for this session. So as you must be able to see on your screens, so we can see we have in the beginning talk, the first talk by His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Damodara Swami Maharaj on the topic of mundane engagement. Followed by that, we have our activity. And just after that, in the part... Okay, so yeah. In the second part of this session, we have our talk 2 by His Grace Bhoot Bhavana Prabhuji on the topic of devotees are spiritual warriors. And in the concluding of this session, we have a drama performed by nourishing devotees. So let's move ahead for this session. I hope you are ready for the nectar to flow through your ears into your hearts. So keep your water bottles and your pen and notebooks ready with you, because you wouldn't want to miss even a single moment of this. Before we proceed, I would like to mention that if you have any technical queries or any questions that you would like to be addressed, so you can ask, you can reach out to our team member called Ask Your Servant in the chat box and get your queries resolved and have a smoother experience of the session. So let's move ahead with the session. I would first like to introduce His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Damodara Swami Maharaj. So as we all know, His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Damodara Swami Maharaj is the disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj and the first African sannyasi and Diksha Guru. Our dear Maharaj is renowned for his humility and his very personal dealings with all the devotees. He teaches Bhakti Shastri and Bhakti Vaibhav courses at Vrindavan Institute of Higher Education and Mayapur Institute. He is also the author of the book Spiritual Connection that explains the dynamics of the Guru-disciple relationship to take the next step in our devotional life. Maharaj travels across various countries like Africa, Brazil, India, Mauritius, Seychelles, and the USA to deliver the message of Krishna consciousness. He perfectly embodies the teachings of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj that we are a big spiritual family striving for the same goal. And his preaching and projects also show this, like the Surbhi Farm project, where devotees can keep Krishna in the center and live peacefully with each other in a sattvic atmosphere, executing bhakti. And secondly, global events just like this one, with the purpose that our global family comes together to serve and know each other, absorb each other in Krishna consciousness, and then present such a wonderful event for the pleasure of all the Vaishnavas from all corners of the world. So before we move ahead with the talk, I would like to invite His Grace Nitai Chaitanya Prabhuji to offer the garland to Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept
Hare
our humble
Krishna.
presence and Dandavat Pranam. Please
Hare
accept
Krishna.
this Maha garland from Sri Sri Radha Bhakti Temple, Nairobi.
Hare Bol, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for your very sweet offering. And now, without a further ado, I would like to invite His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Damodara Swami Maharaj to take up the screen and enlighten us all with his message on mundane engagements. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome you. We thank you. And the screen is all yours.
Thank you. Namo Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prasai Buddha Lesmati. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunya Vadi Pastatya Desacharine. Nama Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prasai Buddha Lesmati Bhakti Tirtha Swami Nitinamna. Namaste Krishna Padaya Prabhupada Shithatmane Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Bhakti Triti Namine. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Sakshulam Litam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manodbhishtam Staptam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahim Dadati Swapadantikam Pandeham Sri Gurun Sri Yuttapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Bandavaneshwari Vrisavana Sute Devi Punamami Hari Priyan Vanchakal Patarubhyascha Kripa Sandhyavacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakura Mahasaya Ki Jai His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj Ki Jai Sisi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Hare Krishna. We are very happy to continue appreciating the costless mercy of His Divine Grace, the Mother Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakura. Well, I kindly give you this Madhurya Kadambini, revealing the obstacles that we will pass through in our consciousness, and as well discovering the solutions from these obstacles so we can move forward. For this purpose, that Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakura has so magnanimously come into this world from his residence in Goloka Vrindavan to warn us of the many obstacles on the royal path of devotion, and most importantly, to teach us very meticulously how to progress step by step in falling madly back in love with our worshipable Lord Krishna. We all have the choice of where we will repose our madness. We can remain mad for sense gratification, or we can become fully transcendentally mad. Beloved, dear devotee, let us invite the Kadambini to shower Madhurya on our external and internal environments, extinguishing the blazing forest fire of material attractions and attachment once and for all. We're looking at the last items on how to, about the 5 obstacles. We have been looking at the 5 obstacles. We have been looking at the 5 obstacles. We have looked at avidya. We have looked at what is it? Asmita. We have looked at raga. We have looked at dvesha. And now we have before us abhinivesa, mundane engagement, is the 5th cause of distress. We shouldn't also forget that there is also the one that Rojaleda Mataji discussed yesterday. Being in the consciousness of being a failure, or always thinking that I'm incapable. The pure devotee, they know that we are incapable. On my own, I cannot do anything. But at the same time, they have a wonderful life because they know, even though I'm incapable, there is a way to become capable. His Holiness Bhakti Swami Maharaj, he showed us that way. In one of his prayers, he said, I am a beggar who does not know how to beg, but my fortune is that I have someone who can beg for me. That is the solution. So although we feel incapable, we can also become capable, because Krishna is Ajita Jitu Pi. Lord Krishna is unconquerable, and at the same time, he becomes conquered by the love of the devotees. So I believe mundane engagement means what? Absorption in the body as a basis for sense gratification, and fear of death is called abhinivesa. Abhinivesa. Absorption in the body. Absorption. Thinking that the sense gratification is the goal of life. Kamupabuga parama. Kam. Sense gratification is the goal of life. The ultimate goal is supreme. Is abhinivesa. This is similar to attachment, but of an even lower nature. Attachment can be subtle or gross, but this specifically refers to the absorption in the gross attachment. We have a gross attachment to sense gratification. We also have the subtle, like for example, a person to be a poor person is one thing. To be in poor consciousness is a very, very dangerous and serious thing. So abhinivesa is more dangerous than raga, attachment, because it's more subtle. It is more subtle and more bestial. That we think that everyone is, all living entities are gratified the sense, but when one is making sense gratification the goal, it's more dangerous. And we think that there is no other thing more than this that is more dangerous. All right. Abhinivesa nye gata mati. Because of abhinivesa, I have become deeply absorbed in trivial pursuits. This is from Kalyana Kalpataru. Srila Bhakti Thakura. This is Bhakti Thakura song 5. Sri Kalyana Kalpataru. Abhinivesa nye gata mati. Because of abhinivesa, I have become deeply absorbed in trivial pursuits. That one does not see anything beyond that. That is the danger of sense gratification. As sense gratification take away or make us blind to our self-interest. Let's put it in that way. Sense gratification makes us blind ourselves into it. We completely forget it. Forget it. There are many people in this material who does not have any what do you call it? Substitute. They have no substitute. There is no second chance. There is no second thing to look at. We think that it's only sense gratification, that we become blind, we become completely blind to self-realization. That is a binivesa, mundane engagement. It is not only human beings who are engaged in sense gratification. All species of life are very much engaged in sense gratification. People in general have spontaneous attachment for home, household paraphernalia, clothes, ornaments, wealth, wife, and children's wealth, children's health, their own health, eatables, trees, and animals. Some people are so addicted to smoking, chewing pine, eating fish and meat, and drinking alcohol that their practice of spiritual life is obstructed. No more second thought of thinking that, is there anything to this life, to what I'm doing? That chance is completely blocked by a binivesa, the influence of a binivesa. What is blocked? Our spiritual life is completely obstructed. Many people do not respect the Lord's remnant out of great attachment to eating things like fish because of the desire to constantly smoke. Many people's study of devotional creepers, devotional scriptures, relish for hearing and chanting, and remaining long in temple is obstructed. Attachment for these things is averse to the constant practice of devotional service. Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti from Bhakti Aloka. Yes. Some years ago, I was listening to when a lecture, when Goreng Prabhu was giving the lecture, and he was telling us of a man. Give him prasadam. He said, no. Take Krishna prasadam. He said, no, I don't want to. It's free. No, I don't want to take. He refused Krishna prasadam. Why? The man said, see, let me tell you. I don't want your prasadam, because if you take your prasadam, my hair will be gone. So I don't want. If you take prasadam, he will become a devotee. You have to shave yourself and become a devotee. I don't want to become a devotee. Therefore, I'm not taking your prasadam. I'm not taking. Yes. Why? Not taking. Addiction to sense gratification makes us blind to self-realization. We will never have anything to do with self-realization. Nothing, completely zero, be blank to self-realization. That is the danger of sense gratification. And when one becomes very much addicted to sense gratification as parama upabhoga, Prahlad Maharaj, the Bhagavatam, he said, Matrini Krishna paratu satuba mitubi padite griha bratanam. Adan tagubi bishatam tamishra puna chavana chavananam. People who have taken a vow, the vow for sense gratification. We are taking Kartik Vrat. We just finished Kartik Vrat. We just finished taking Kartik Vrat. There's some people who are taking Kartik Vrat. They are taking Ekadasi Vrat. They are taking Mona Vrat. There's some people that are taking so many Vrat. They are people who are taking vow for sense gratification. A vow for sense gratification. That is the austerity. Last year in India, I met one good brother. It was a Purushottam Mass, during Purushottam Mass. He told me, you know, my austerity, my vow for this Purushottam Mass, do you know my vow? My vow is that I will take Mahaprasadam every day. every day. Therefore, I want to go before the brahmachari take it. Let me go. Just bye-bye, bye-bye. Let me go for it. But taking vows of sanctification, our interest in Krishna consciousness will be zero. Zero. We will just simply make a show of bhakti, carrying our bead for the whole day. We're not chanting. That is happening. It is happening in our movement. Prabhupada already told us in Chaitanya Charitamrita this morning that there are many of us in this movement who are very, very envious of each other. Similarly, there are many of us who are so addicted to sanctification that although they are chanting beads in our hand, when we have promised special master are going to chant 16 rounds, we carry the bead the whole day. We're not chanting 16 rounds. A bead base. We cannot cheat Krishna because we don't want bhakti. We cannot cheat Krishna. This should be obvious. We cannot think of Krishna as dull, insensitive, or impersonal, and engage in all types of crazy activities while still expecting Bhakti Devi to bless us and reciprocate with us. Have we ever asked ourselves, why am I like this? Why am I suffering like this in Krishna consciousness? Have we ever asked ourselves like this? Why am I suffering like this in Krishna consciousness? Why am I not making advancement even though I'm trying my best? I'm trying my best seriously, but why am I not making advancement? Why am I not a pure devotee yet? We should know the reason. So His Holiness Bhattacharya Maharaj is saying, we cannot think of Krishna as dull, insensitive, or impersonal and engaged in all types of crazy activities while still expecting Bhakti Devi to bless us and reciprocate with us. It will not be. Yetamam prapadanti tam tataiva bhajami. We are getting the result of what is our input in Krishna consciousness. So whatever is happening, that is what we are cultivating, or what we have cultivated. And we simply get the result of what we have cultivated. And that is what we are experiencing. Whatever is our present situation in Krishna consciousness, whatever is our present situation in Krishna consciousness, that is what we have worked for. Is the result of what we have worked for. If you are happy in Krishna consciousness, we're not happy in Krishna consciousness. We are preaching our Krishna consciousness. We are feeling encouraged in our Krishna consciousness, or we're getting discouraged in our Krishna consciousness. It is a result of what we are working for in our life as a devotee. We are influenced by some negative things, or we are influenced by positive things in Krishna consciousness. It's what we have worked for. Whatever is our present situation, that is what we have worked for. Not that someone is imposing anything on us. She does not want to come to an environment filled with the associates of Maya, just as a royal person has no desire to enter a degraded place. If we try to pursue a devotional lifestyle, but simultaneously engage in all this other nonsense, we will send a signal to Bhakti Devi that we really do not want her. Unfortunately, as we chase away the Bhakti, we bring in more nations, more pain, more distress, and more sadness. Then we wondering, why am I not happy in my Krishna consciousness? Because while we profess to be a devotee, we are also opening a gate wide for Maya to come inside and bombard us with all kinds of negative activities. A devotee is doing the arati in the altar. He's a devotee. He was in Brazil. A devotee. He do arti in the altar. And he has a headphone like some of you are having. Has a phone. Yogini having cell phone. I also saw Pankati people who were having the same cell phone. So this Pujari will have, I'm not saying you should not have. I'm not saying you should not have. You should have because I want their hearing Madhurya Kadambini. This one is perfect. But this devotee, he is putting the headphone there in his head. And he's right in the altar doing arti. Gurudev said we cannot cheat. We cannot cheat Krishna. We cannot cheat Krishna. We simply cheat ourselves. We cannot cheat Krishna. We simply cheat ourselves. So this devotee think he was cheating. He think that nobody will know. Right in the altar, he's doing arti. Kiva Jayo Jaya Gora Chande. He's waving the incense. So another devotee gently when they removed the headphone, it was disco music he was playing. It was not Jai Jayo Radha Krishna Yugala Mila. That was not the music he was playing. He's doing arti, but the music in his head is complete demonic karmic music. Right in the altar. The same thing also we have seen sometime here in Nigeria also saw the same thing. The what also they were having the same ears, headphone we play. When they opened it, it was not Christian conscious music that was there. It was a different thing we were hearing. It was not lecture from his guru. It was completely karmic thing he was listening to. That is a sort of, there are some devotees who are right on the asana. They are sitting on Vyasasana, but they are not talking about Krishna, they're speaking about politics, politicians on the asana. So we should try to understand what the Gurudev is saying. We cannot cheat. We cannot cheat, man. We cannot cheat. We cannot. And we will not be able to cheat because we don't have the power to cheat. So while we are trying to be a devotee, we are doing all kinds of unnecessary things. All kinds of unnecessary things which are not devotional. They will obstruct our bhakti. Because we don't want bhakti. Yes. If we try to pursue a devotional lifestyle, but simultaneously engage in all this other nonsense, we will send a signal to Bhakti Devi. I don't want you. So don't come. But instead we wonder, but why am I like this? Why am I not making advancement? Because we are not doing what will help us to make advancement. All right. Yes. Srila Prabhupada did not cheat us. No. Recently, I went on a tour of France, Switzerland, Sweden, Australia, Italy, and a few other countries and found it painful to see the number of Vaishnavas feeling miserable. Why? Prabhupada did not cheat us, therefore we must be cheating. The devotees were not experiencing this due to the pain that they saw in others. Their sadness revolved around I and mine. Prabhupada did not create a society for us to come together to mutually suffer while we think about transcendence. This is really ludicrous. This is really cheating, very dangerous cheating. It is criminal activity. Better to be an atheist. It is better to be an atheist than to pretend to be a devotee. If you're an atheist, it is better. Why? Because people know, nobody will come to me. If a person wants to be a devotee, will not come to me. Say, oh, this one is a demon, so I don't go there. It's very, very clear. So to be an atheist is better than to profess to be a devotee. Many people come and give us their lives and we destroy their lives. It's more dangerous. More dangerous to pretend to be a devotee than to be an atheist. The atheists are more sincere and they are better. They will get mercy of Krishna than those of us who pretend to be a devotee and not a devotee. We're not talking about weakness in Christian consciousness. That is not the point we're talking about. We're talking about we are deliberately doing this. And we should know that because majority of us are doing this, even in a very subtle way. We want to be a devotee, but we want to be a devotee according to our own style. How is that Krishna consciousness? We should adjust ourselves to fit into Krishna consciousness, but majority of people are trying to adjust Krishna consciousness to fit into their own. That is dangerous. Spiritual technology is to stop being evasive, mundane engagement. If we are in distress, it means that we have to do our homework more seriously. We have to more genuinely and consciously follow the process. How to consciously follow the process. For this, we should stop seeing at the planning. We should stop seeing at the planning. We have to check it and stop the plans for the sin. What does that mean? A devotee constantly thinking of breaking principle. We are meditating on that. We are meditating on that. We're thinking that constantly in our consciousness. Eventually, it will come to that because that is what we are planning to do. So we should stop seeing at the planning, because what we are going to suffer for tomorrow can be checked from today. If we do not deal with the seed and the mentality that produces the weeds will grow, gradually choking the creeper. It is much more difficult to root out the weed once it has grown strong and developed fully. It requires a greater endeavor to change once we situate our consciousness and senses in Maya. It becomes very difficult because the contamination is now a part of our consciousness. This is very important. This is very important. It is more dangerous to give up a bad habit than to create the habit. You will see, His Holiness Radhamara gave a lecture, and he was talking about the old crow and the new crow. Old and the new crow. The one black bird. It's addicted to eating garbages. You always see the crows in the. It's always addicted to dirty things, dirty places. Crow. Unlike a swan is addicted to clean, sanctified places. The crow is addicted to dirty things, and they eat all the dirty things, carcasses. So Hilone Radha Maharaj was speaking about the old and the new crow. He said the old crew is the Westerners, the new crew are the Indians. You know, the problem is that when you try to imitate something, you do it worse than the person who have been doing that thing. The British people introduced drinking tea, but Indians are more addicted to tea than the British people. So when we are addicted to sense gratification, we are cultivating that. When we really become addicted to it will be very, very difficult to eat, to give it up. Very, very difficult. Huh? When we fall, the deviation permeates our existence. It has a liberating effect. And so it takes more credit and adjustment to try to pick ourselves up, back up. So I think in English is also there. Prevention is better than cure. So what we're going to suffer for tomorrow is better that we check it from today. So like a person who falls down, it's not that it's the person who falls down, the person who will fall down has already fallen. Because we have been planning how to fall for a long time. So the fall has already taken place. The graphical aspect of it is what will become manifest physically. Oh, he fell down. But the person has already fallen for a long time. Why? Because of activities. So we should stop planting the seed of sin. Because when it falls, it is very difficult to get up, to get ourselves up, because it will have a very, very negative effect on us. It is very rare to get someone to get up, because we start associating with people who have the same level with us. We'll create association of those who are falling, and we'll be congratulating each other. You know, you're not the first person. No, you're not the first person. This is material world. Nobody is strong in this material. You see all these people, it's their own has happened to them. You don't know other people's own. So don't worry about it. Don't worry. Don't worry. You see, they're all pretending. They will soon fall down. This is not easy. This is not easy. So Papa said it is step-by-step process, gradual process. Don't jump. So this philosophy will start coming from people who are on the same circle, not somebody who is on a higher level. The person on the higher level will tell you, you see, this is nonsense. I have told you many times, this is nonsense. Now you have disgraced yourself, and we have disgraced so many people. Many people who have depended on you, their faith have been destroyed. So this is nonsense. A person who higher will tell us like that because he can see differently. It's not that he hates us, it's not that he's condemning us, but he's telling us the truth. But those who are on the same level with us, he say, my dear brother, you're not the first person, neither will he be the last person. So don't worry about it. So don't worry about this. So the Papa knows that we are weak. To err is human. You're not the one who said that. They have been there a long time. And even after, it will continue because this material is like that. Especially Kali Yuga. We are weak. We are very weak. This process is not easy, Prabhu. This process is not easy. So, up to this time, you tried, Prabhu, you tried. Up to this point, 40 years, you have tried. So don't worry about it. After all, this process, you will continue from where you left off. There is no loss or diminution in the process. All the philosophies are there. The philosophies are there to support our deviations. So most of us study the scripture to defend our deviation. But the scripture is not to defend our deviation, to support our strength so we can defeat Maya and continue to remain yes to Krishna. For this reason, it is much better to avoid the deviation and not let the seed enter. However, if the seed is there, take it out. It is easier to remove a weed than to remove an entire plant along with its root. These apparatus are bad enough, but the effect of these contaminations are even worse. The initial weed itself is a problem, but unfortunately, the one weed will surely produce more. Yes. Yes. Cockroach example. Cockroach example. The presence of one cockroach indicates the presence of many others who will certainly produce more. If it remains around, after a while, the entire house will be infested with cockroaches, with roaches. If you just let the problem continue, they will begin to jump out of cabinets, drawers, or closets. You created an environment that summoned the insects. If you prevent such an environment from developing, you will not have to deal with the consequences. For this reason, the Lord's devotees have great compassion because they see how the living entities unnecessarily entangle themselves. The devotees feel compassion for a person engaged in sin because their improper activities will simply lead to negative reactions. Yes. Be regulated and clean. Be regulated and clean to keep the cockroaches away. Shisham was teaching us that the good teacher are washing the temple. That we should follow regulative duties. That is important. That Abhinivesa gives him trouble. So this Abhinivesa can be removed by increasing Krishna consciousness. And Krishna consciousness is increased by following the regulative duties. Rise early in the morning, have Mangala Arati, that, up to 10 o'clock means Vidhi. It's a morning work conversation. It's 30th September 1974 in Bombay. Be clean. There is a difference between those who are poor and those who are just negligent. In the villages, the people may be simple and poor, but they are often very clean and have some spunk about life. Because they value what they do have. I have seen small villages in India, in Africa, and Latin America, where people rise early every morning, clean the entire areas, and even take several baths a day. That is true. As soon as we wake up in the morning, the first thing to do is bathing, brush the teeth, and take a shower. Be clean. I mean, before we go to farm, we do that. After farming, you take a bath, clean before you come to the house and cook and enjoy. Clean life, fresh food. So it should be clean. Mm-hmm. And we should observe fasting days seriously. Observe fasting days seriously. So the Prabhupada said, there are certain days which are called determined. Determined, that is Bhagavad Gita 9:14 purport. Certain days are called determined. And what are those days? Ekadasi and Janmashtami. Days of Hari Vahasara. By properly observing Hari Vahasara, Ekadasi, and appearance days of the Lord, those attachments are vanquished. The rules of such vows are the provisions for diminishing one's attachment. They are prescriptions for practicing devotional service while giving up all types of enjoyment on those days. There are two types of eatables, those which sustain one's life and those which gratify the senses. Eating grains and drinking are life-sustaining. Fish, meat, pan, intoxicant, and smoking are all for gratifying the senses and are very destructive. How to observe Hari Vasara. On days of vows, unless one totally gives up sense gratifying items, it is not a vow. As far as possible, life-sustaining items should also be given up. One of the limbs of Vrat is to diminish the devotee's propensity for enjoyment. If one thinks, today somehow or other I will renounce, but tomorrow I will enjoy profusely, then the purpose of the vow will not be successful. The reason is that vows have been prescribed to give up the association of such items by gradual practice. Bhakti Aloka, Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti. Only associate with Vaishnavas in Kirtan. Only associate with Vaishnavas. Check the company we keep is very important. The first step in regulating our senses and our minds is to look at the quality of our associations. Take a close look at the people you spend your time with. Do they make it easy for even encourage you to follow your lower senses? The saying, you can tell the character of a man by the company he keeps is quite true. It's from Spiritual World 3, chapter 7. Vaishnava association is all auspicious. From the scriptures, it is well known that by the association of Sri Narada Muni, the Honta Mrigari, and Radnakara Valmiki attained auspiciousness. The foremost instruction of Sri Ramanujacharya is this: if you cannot purify yourself by any endeavor whatsoever, then just go and sit with the Vaishnavas, and you will achieve all auspiciousness. By observing the pure characteristics of a devotee, in a very short time, a person's mind is changed. His attachment for his son's enjoyment decreases, and the seedling of bhakti sprouts in the heart. One even gradually develops a taste for the Vaishnava's food and behavior. That the Muni did not ask but because he sat with them and listened to what they were doing, he became a. The Muni asked only one question: if he is permitted to take the remnant.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. It seems Maharaj's side, the network is quite weak. So we will wait for Maharaj to rejoin. Meanwhile, we can meditate on the points, the spiritual technologies that Maharaj has told us. The first one is stop sin at planning. So the point that it is easier to, remove the seed.
Aribo, can you hear me?
Yes, Maharaj, we can hear you now.
Sorry for the disconnection. This is our advancement. Our advancement in material world is like that. Nothing is certain, and we're very proud of that. Yes. Narada that it is Bhaktivedanta did not even speak to Narada. It was the last day they were leaving, they were considering, this boy has been serving us for this month. What should we do to him? That's all. It was the last day. They said, okay, let's give him knowledge because this is what we've been discussing. And they gave him Bhakti. They discussed it only at the last day. They didn't talk to him. Neither did Narada speak to them. He simply listened. But what happened was that he got contaminated by their pure Bhakti. And Bhakti became attractive to him according to Narada. So even if they don't speak to all, simply be in association of Vaishnava, you will get everything. Therefore, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura, he said, my dear brothers, my dear sisters, where will we find our fortune? Where? Our fortune is only with devotees, nowhere else. We will not find our fortune anywhere. Our fortune is only with the devotees. This is Saranagati. From the scripture, it is well known that the association of Sri Narada Muni and the hunt and Brigadi and Ranakar, Valmiki attained auspiciousness. Yeah? Simply associate with the Bhaktivedantas. That's all. Simply sit down and hear them. That's all. Auspiciousness will come from there. That is how dangerous Bhakti is. Bhakti is contagious. Maya is contagious. Bhakti is also contagious. Yeah, she said with devotee, you get it. Only if you want to become offensive. Otherwise, you get it. Yes. Check where you are by how you feel. Check where you are by how we feel. If you want to absorb yourself in hearing and thinking about Krishna, but you are, as we said, simply engaged in Prajalpa, you should feel uncomfortable. Many devotees complain. Since I came to Krishna consciousness, my parents are not happy with me again. My friends have deserted me. All my colleagues have left me. Things like that. If it doesn't happen like that, then there is no difference. You have not made any difference yet. If it doesn't happen like that, then you're the same. There's no difference yet. If there's difference, it will surely happen like that. However, if your consciousness contains envy, nations, and false ego, not only will you feel comfortable, but you will look for people with a similar mentality. For this reason, many times when devotees fall, they associate with other fallen devotees in order to rationalize their own deviation. Since they know Krishna, they cannot get the knowledge out of their consciousness fully, but at the same time, they are not ready to give up this miserable bhakti, mishra bhakti, mixed devotion. Then the tendency is to seek out environment that will help reinforce their nations. In this way, they do not have to recognize the level of their nations or endeavor to eradicate it. Maya uses all of these different tricks to reinforce the illusion by how you feel. You should check. The easiest way. We do not have to specifically know all of the anarthas, apparatus, and weaknesses. It is good for us to try to understand them. But if we simply have greater appreciation for sadhus, this obstacle will not enter our consciousness. Any issues will be easily eradicated because of a genuine sense of appreciation. When we lack this appreciation, we'll become mechanical. Yes. So the summary of what we have been discussing. Absorption in the body as a basis for sense gratification and fear of death is called abhinivesa. One becomes deeply absorbed in trivial pursuit due to abhinivesa, and then their practices of spiritual life is obstructed. And gradually, due to this engagement, they become completely averse to devotional service. Spiritual technologies to stop mundane engagement. 1. Stop sin at beginning. 2. Be regulated and clean. 3. Observe fasting days seriously for only as you say with advice hours and genuinely appreciate them. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So now we have come to the question and answer section of this session. So the floor is now open. Devotees may raise their virtual hands on Zoom to ask their question, and those who are joining us via Facebook or YouTube, they may post their questions in the comment box, and our team will certainly take their questions. So we see a hand raised by Vraj Prabhuji. So Prabhuji, I would request you to unmute yourself and you may ask your question, please.
Maharaj, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
My question is, how do we know which is a devotee that we should associate from, and how do we distinguish between which?
Thank you. A nice question. It's not difficult to distinguish a person we should associate with and a person we shouldn't associate with. But first of all, identify who we are. What is our interest in Krishna consciousness? We should first identify what are we looking for in Krishna consciousness. That's the first thing we should know. We don't need a smoker does not need introduction to someone who's smoking in any environment he visits. He doesn't need any introduction. One who drinks, he doesn't need any introduction to identify those who drink in any environment that he goes, even a foreign place altogether. There's no introduction. Similarly, in Krishna consciousness, there is no introduction among devotees. A devotee will know who is a devotee because the super soul in the heart guides us, as you say with the person. That one you can say is too far. I don't have any connection with super soul. What are the practical thing I can see in the person? One, if my interest is Krishna, then when I associate with the person who is constantly talking about Krishna, so okay, this is a person I should associate with. If I want to chant, then I should associate with people who are regularly chanting. If I want to read, then I should associate with those who are reading. If I want to read, I want to chant, and I'm associating with those who doesn't read, those who have to chant, that means that is my association. So we will not chant, we will not hear, we will not read. So it's not difficult to know. By association with devotee, you will know those who are addicted to chanting. Immediately you will follow that this person will like chanting. Let me join him or her. You see those who are reading, you join the person. And you see those who will never have interest in chanting or reading, but they will always talk. And what they will talk had nothing to do with Krishna. So immediately, oh, this is not my associate. Immediately, oh no, this is not my associate. Immediately you will avoid the person. So first of all, you should identify what you are looking for in Krishna consciousness. Then you will see very clearly. Krishna will show you. See these people here that like to read. See this one, they like chanting. See this, they like to talk about me. They talk about Krishna. These people, they discuss how to do devotional service very nicely and how to do your service very nicely. So you see them and say, see these people here, they are here just as a source of distraction. You will see different groups. You see very, very clear. It's not difficult. You see all clearly. By associating with somebody. And Prabhupada told us that you know one is a fool when the person starts to speak. When you hear someone speak, you know, this one, he's talking about politicians. He's not talking about Krishna. Here, when it's in the temple, but he's talking about politicians. He's talking about sport. He's not talking about Krishna. So immediately, I will give you a chance. I will excuse me, say, Prabhu, excuse me, Prabhu, I have to see so person. And that's it. You go and associate with that person. If you stay there, that means that is your associate. That is what you are looking for. Yes. And you get it. They will pollute, they will increase the pollution in the consciousness. Telling you, see this happen, see this one happen, this one. 20 years ago, this one do like this. 100 years ago, this one did like this. 10 years ago, this one did like this. Last year, this one did like this. What about this? What about what this environment is meant for? What about that? This environment is for Krishna. What about this? Why can't you tell me what about Krishna? This environment is not meant for all these nonsense people. And why should I meditate upon nonsense people? Why? Why should I waste my time upon nonsense about the non-thing people I do? I should meditate upon wonderful personalities, the pure devotees and Krishna, because that will help me. I become like Narada Modi. Mm-hmm. The nature of the Bhaktivedanta became attractive to me. That should be our experience. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj, for the wonderful answer. So next we have an anonymous question, and it is, I always understood that association of devotees is like a treasure box, and they are also beautiful jewels. However, at some point, those jewels start to hurt us and misunderstand us, judge us, and however much you try your best, faults are always being detected. Then how to treat such a situation?
First of all, we have mistaken the neophyte devotees as serious devotees. That's the first mistake we have made. That we didn't see clearly. Krishna didn't tell us that only when people approach him. Krishna didn't say that. In Bhagavad Krishna told us 4 kinds of people approach him. He didn't say 1 person. Krishna said 4. Those 4 people are not in the street. Those 4 people approach Krishna, they are in the movement. They're in the temple. So when we look for only 1 type of people in the place, Krishna said there are 4, then we are making mistake. It means we have not had the scripture. We have not had Krishna perfectly. And it is our own fault. Because Krishna made it very clear there. 4 kinds of people approach me. He didn't say 1. And we are making everything 1. So we are not more perfect than Krishna. So it's our fault. Then we should carefully observe. It's not about making offenses. This one. That is not the way. We ourselves should be, first of all, a Krishna conscious person. Then Krishna will naturally show us a Krishna conscious person that will associate with, and association will be very, very encouraging. The association will be very encouraging. It will not be a group of people coming together to find fault with each other. Like the thieves who went to rob Lord Nityananda Prabhu. The thieves have gone to rob Lord Nityananda Prabhu. But Lord Nityananda Prabhu called one of his Shakti to come and bewilder them. And all of them got bewildered and slept throughout the whole night. They woke up only to 6 o'clock. They said, oh, you slept first. You slept first. You are the one who first slept. So is the one who were awake throughout the whole night? So you, okay, I slept first. What about you? If I slept first, you slept live. What is the problem? Both of us slept and we didn't do our duty. So who is correct? The one who slept first, the one who slept late? Both of us slept last. Both of us slept and we didn't do our duty. So that is not a society Prophet has created for us. The society Prophet created for us is a society of devotees whose association is very, very encouraging and stimulating in our Krishna conscious life. We should look for that. And if we have made mistake by identifying people who are not, and eventually we come to discover that, we should give them up and look for a different association. We should go to what we are looking for. We should search. Just see, if you go to a market, you have something in the mind you are going to buy in the market. Not everything in the market you're going to buy. You have a particular thing that is taking you to market. And when you go to the market, the supermarket, it is not what you have in the mind alone that is there. There are many varieties of things are there. But you, if you're intelligent, you should search for the things in that, for the many things which are there in the market. You search for the thing you're looking for. Buy that and you go away. All right?
Yes, Maharaj. So next we have His Grace Nitai Chaitanya Prabhuji. So Prabhuji, I would request you to unmute and ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev.
Hare Krishna.
My question is that, Maharaj, due to we are in this material world, due to some work obligations, we may have to attend some functions where we know that it's a sense gratification, and we are compelled to attend the functions of our seniors, maybe the whatever level, director level, and we know that there's a lot of sense gratification going on at that place. At that time, what should we do so that we cannot get obstructed? Because sometimes we do get obstructed by going there when we are compelled to go because of the invitation, Maharaj.
Yes, so if you go there because you are representing the company and the company is saying all workers will come and you are the manager there, they want to see you there for other workers there. So you should go there and you don't participate in their nonsense. You can take them to give you the juice. So you can take the juice, not prepared by them. Now they also have a packaged juice. You can request for that, at least just to flow with them. And everybody should know that you are a devotee who are not engaged in these things. So that although they will feel embarrassed by seeing you not engaged in sinful activity like them, your presence will make them uncomfortable. For those who are civilized, they will feel uncomfortable. But because you need to be there, so you can show your face and tell them you just come to appreciate, but you'll not be able to stay throughout the whole time. So you stay for some time and sneak away, to find yourself and go away. But it's really in the beginning to show that you're there. Take something, or request that they should give you fruits, so you can take that and go away. That is what we can do. My former company before I came to ISKCON, and my supervisor used to make jest of me because I have not come to Krishna consciousness, but I was not addicted to the thing people are doing, drinking and things. So when all the workers come together, when we close, so he will be sponsoring different things for different people. He will call me last. That's what other people, they will request different things they will take. When he finish, he will look at me and call me last. What do you take? Say, give me Fanta. I say, see, Fanta. That's all, Fanta. But actually, it's okay for me. That's all right. I enjoy. I even like that. I'm popular. I'm famous among the even Madhurya speaker. Yeah, I'm popular. That of all these people here doing nonsense, the only person who does not engage in their nonsense is a different person. Yeah, give me my Fanta. If you want to give me one crate, it's okay. Give me. So I don't feel embarrassed by that. I feel happy about it. Even though he's making a sin out of it, that is okay. I take it like that. So yeah, you should know that you're a vegetarian, you don't engage in nonsense activities. So there's a party is there. Yeah, you go there, take fruit. Or take some juice. And talk their language with them because it's what you're doing. Then you go away and continue with your Hare Krishna mantra. Yes. How to use our intelligence in dealing with them. All right.
Thank you so
Hare
much,
Krishna.
Maharaj, for the wonderful
Hare
answer.
Krishna.
Next, we have a question from Her Grace Gunachuda Mataji. So Mataji is asking, a very disturbed mind and miserable mind is a sinful activity itself, or is the reaction of previous aparats? Can it be cured by sadhana bhakti?
Whatever it is, it's a reaction from sinful activities. Yeah? Miserable condition is a result of sinful activities. It's not from spiritual activities, from material activities, sinful activities. So whatever it is sinful. It is activity that resulted to this, the suffering we are getting. And yes, the process of bhakti is the only means to counteract that, to remove it completely from the root. Not just a patching up. It will completely uproot it from the root. So we may have a experience which is lingering for long, and we're wondering, is it possible that bhakti can destroy this? Yes, bhakti can destroy it, but we should know. You see, if you understand analogy, if you put a wet wood in a fire, it will take some time before it get burnt. But if you put a dry wood in the fire, it will easily get burnt. If you put a wet wood in the fire will take time to dry out the water first before it will burn the wood. So it will take some time. Similarly, for those of us who have had a very serious sinful reaction from the past, bhakti will take time to get it out. So because it is taking time to get, we shouldn't think that maybe it is not working. It is working. It is working. Therefore, our chariots, the question, we should just persevere. We should tolerate. We should be patient. And with patience, with time, everything will be rectified, completely rectified, 100% rectified. 100%. Look at Mrigari, so dangerous a hunter, but Naramuni completely purified him, that he became such a pure devotee that he cannot even walk straight again. He's walking, looking at the ground to see if there's ant. When the Parvatamuni saw that, he laughed. And I said, it's not a surprise. Naramuni, you are a touchstone. So it's not a surprise for me to see the behavior of your disciple. Not a surprise. He's not. That is bhakti. All right.
Yes, Maharaj. So now we have our last question from His Grace Mohan Rup Dhari Prabhuji. Prabhuji, please unmute your microphone and you may ask the question.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Srila Gurudev.
Hare
Please
Krishna.
accept my humble obeisances as the guest of your Lotus Feet Maharaj. Thank you for the wonderful lecture. Sometimes, Srila Gurudev, it happens to me when I've already chanted my rounds, already listening to a lecture, finishing my reading, then sometimes a thought comes to my mind. Now, and I can relax a bit. And by doing this, I I lost so much valuable times. My question is this the outcome of obedience? And how I can overcome this?
When we have finished chanting our 16 rounds, and we have done some reading, and we have done our regular duty, and we still have a free time, it is very, very important for us to now practice chanting extra rounds. And this one, we should focus more because we are not struggling to chant 60 rounds. Now we are free. Our mood now will be different. Not that I can chant it and watch television. No. This will be very serious when I should try to listen to the name more careful than when we're chanting 60 rounds. And this will help us to really uproot the weed, the seed of a sin, the seed of apparat completely. So we should practice doing that. And Srila Prabhupada gave us 16 rounds as a minimum, not maximum. It is minimum. So it is better for us to chant more. We should never have a spare time. If we don't want Maya to disturb us, we shouldn't have a spare time in our lives. No spare time. There's nothing like spare time. Every of our time should be engaged in Krishna consciousness. That is the way we can go about it. In this way, we'll become free and our advancement will be faster. No spare time. All right.
Thank you, Srila Gurudev. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, all the devotees, for asking such wonderful questions. And now we'll move ahead. So before we move ahead, I would like to mention that thank you so much, Maharaj, for this talk on mundane engagements, where you mentioned how abhinivesh is so dangerous more dangerous than rag, and how it can influence our devotional service. One could even not respect the remnants of Lord, that is prasadam, and how abhinivesh can affect us. And the most striking point that I found in this talk was Prabhupada did not create a society for us to come together to mutually suffer while we think about transcendence. So this was the most striking point that I found, and I feel it will help all of us. So thank you so much, Maharaj, once again for this wonderful talk. And now we will move ahead to the activity. So we have come to the activity section, and in the activity we have a very sweet bhajan sung by Anu Prabhuji from Mauritius.
Amara Harina Miya Vilasa
Hare Krishna. So that was a very sweet performance by Anup Prabhuji, and for a moment I had actually forgotten that I was hosting the session. So now we have come to the part 2 of this session. So now I would like to invite His Grace Paramgati Prabhuji to take ahead this session. So Prabhuji, screen is all yours.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Amit Prabhu. Thank you so much for the wonderful hosting for the part 1. So now, and my humble pranams, most respectful obeisances to Srila Gurudev, and my humble pranams to all of you, all the Vaishnavas assembled here. And we are churning, and we are getting drenched with the showers of the Kadambini, the Madhurya showers of the Madhurya Kadambini, and it has not stopped yet. We still have a special guest speaker who will be taking the topic, devotees are spiritual warriors. But just before that, I like to announce, make a few announcements, and then we'll go to, again, get drenched in the shower. So on your screens, in the chat box, there will be a feedback form link, which will be shared for this, all the 5 sessions, those who have attended all the 5 sessions, or those who have attended, are attending just this last session. And these links will also be available on YouTube and Facebook. So we request you all to please go ahead and give your valuable feedbacks after this session or between the session, so that we can improve upon our services and bring pleasure to the Vaishnavas. The other announcement is that if you have any technical difficulties or anything, you can always ask your servant, right? There is a chat box where you can click ask your servant and chat with ask your servant. And the third one is those whose questions have not been answered in all the 5 sessions. If there are any questions left, we know that there are many questions from Facebook and our YouTube viewers that were not answered, and some of the questions which came in after the last questions on Zoom. So we have compiled them, collated them, and we will be answering them in our Q&A session, which is Jnana Chakshu. On your screen, you can see we have live Q&A session with His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Damodara Swami every alternate Saturday. So it will be there this Saturday. Don't miss it. Your questions will be answered in this session. Okay, so now we move on to our second part, and I would like to introduce the speaker for today. Devotees are spiritual warriors. We have a very special speaker, His Grace Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu. He's a disciple of His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Swami Maharaj, and he has been a real inspiration. He's from London. He completed his graduation from the prestigious London School of Economics, and he completed his post-graduation in philosophy in the Birkbeck University after that. So we have an intellectual today in our midst, and just like his name, Bhuta Bhavana. So Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan, he explains the meaning of the word Bhuta Bhavana. So Bhuta means living entities, and Bhavana means one who infuses. So one who infuses the living entities with spiritual potency and spiritual opulence is known as Bhuta Bhavana. So we have the servant of such a sweet Lord, and true to his name, he is infusing all the devotees who are attending his workshops on empowerment through yoga and meditation, leadership from within, stress management, and so many such practical and deep workshops. So he's infusing them with spiritual potency as well as giving them the opulence of spiritual technologies, right? And we'll definitely hear more from him. So before we move on to give the mic to Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu, I will like to invite, as is customary, Jagan Nivas Prabhu to please welcome His Grace Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu with Mahagal. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, and we offer you this garland from Sri Sri Krishna Balaram.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. Very kind of you. Okay. So Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Yes, Prabhu. So the screen is all yours, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So the first thing I'd like to do is to offer my most humble obeisances to my exalted seniors, especially His Holiness Bhakti Dhira Damodara Maharaj, and to all the Vaishnava devotees, to sincerely request your blessings and your mercy so we can speak something in this very exalted association. We will be touching upon this idea that devotees are spiritual warriors. And this is also a section in this book, page 38 to 40, Reflections on Sacred Teachings, Volume 2, Madhurya Kadambini. So we'll be sharing some ideas from here. Before we do, we'll just say our prayers, our Mangalacharyan prayers, literally an auspicious invocation, requesting the grace and the compassion of the great Guru Parampara, so we can speak something which will be nourishing to the soul and that will help us on our spiritual journey. Omegiyanata Mirandasya Gyananjana Shilakaya Chakshu Ummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapa Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Virjana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakamvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyeva Chapatitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So there's a few things we wanted to share with you in the session today. We have a small window of time, but we'll try to share some of the key points. And then we're going to give some time at the end for some questions as well. So to begin with, I'm going to share my slide. And these just have some key concepts or ideas that are in some ways familiar to all of us, but at the same time are very important for us to continue to remember and reflect on if we want to be successful on our spiritual journey. Okay, so this presentation is entitled Devotees Are Spiritual Warriors. When we look at this term spiritual warriors, and when we link this to the theme of the Madhurya Kadambini, we know that the Madhurya Kadambini by Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakura is helping us to understand the journey of Bhakti. Okay, it begins with Shraddha and it takes us all the way through to Prema. Why is this literature so essential? It is so essential because unless we know where we are, unless we know where we want to go, unless we know what the map looks like, there will be ultimate failure. I repeat, unless I know where I am, unless I know where I want to go, and unless I know what the journey looks like, the map of the journey, there's no way to know whether I'm moving in the right direction. In the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni makes this statement, Yasya Lakshanam Proktam. He says everything can be understood by its lakshana, by its qualities. So in Madhurya Kadambini, it helps us to understand the journey and the symptoms, okay? The different symptoms at the different stages of spiritual advancement. Now, when we understand that we're on a journey, we have to also understand that we're on a journey upstream. I repeat that. Every single one of us as devotees, we are on a journey upstream. The material energy is like a waterfall that goes down. And we're trying to go up. That means that each and every one of us are trying to go against the tide of material energy. In the Bhagavad Gita, what does Krishna say? He says, Devyesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya mamevaye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. He says this divine energy of mind consisting of the 3 modes of material nature is taranti. It is Devyesha gunamayi duratyaya. It is very difficult to overcome. But those who prapadyante means surrender. For those who surrender, then they can actually be successful, then we can cross over. So because we're going against the tide, and because we're trying to move to the spiritual energy, as opposed to staying under the material energy, that implies that we're dealing with a situation of a challenge. If you want to be successful when you are being challenged, that means you have to be a warrior. In other words, for devotees to be successful, each and every one of us must become, if we're not already, we must become spiritual warriors. And what I wanted to give to you is a formula for what being a spiritual warrior actually means. So I call this the formula of the 5 S's. Okay? If you remember these points, which are also touched upon in the commentary to this Madhurya Kadambini by Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, if you remember these 5 areas, you can be guaranteed to be successful. And actually, what I want to do is more than get us to remember this. As we go through these 5 S's, I'm going to ask us all to apply our philosophy. Okay? Now, what do I mean by this? I'm going to go back. Sorry, give me 1 second. I'm going to go back. Yes. So what I mean by this is that the days of being philosophical are over. Okay, I repeat that. The days of being simply philosophical have died. What we have to become is really individuals who apply the philosophy. It should be applied so well that it becomes literally part of the way that we live, part of the way that we think, the way that we feel, the way that we act. So when we go through these 5 S's, which is how we understand spiritual warriorship, when I go to each one, I want you to give yourself a rating out of 10. Okay? And this rating out of 10 is there so we can see where we are strong in these 5 areas. And it's also there to see where we have an opportunity to improve in these areas. Okay? So we're going to go through all 5. We'll go through them relatively quickly so we can have time for questions and answers. But as we go through, 10 means I'm very strong, okay? Less than 10 means, okay, this is an area that I could maybe do something about to make myself stronger, okay? So we'll go through step by step and then we'll open up the questions. Again, please remember, if we get these 5 correct, our spiritual progress is guaranteed, okay? So we know that Krishna's representatives are the most important. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sadhu Sangha Sarva Shastra Koi, Lava Matra Sadhu Sangha Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Very, very interesting point. And this is something that I forgot for so many years. I didn't understand this properly. We know that the topmost sadhana is the chanting of the holy names. But the root of the roots of bhakti is association. And this is very interesting. It's not just association. There's a seminar on the Harinam Chintamani by Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. I heard this seminar, it may have been 2003, 2004, and it changed my life. Why did it change my life? He said something which is easy not to notice when we read Prabhupada's books. If you look in the Bhagavad Gita, if you look in the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita entitled The Modes of Material Nature, Prabhupada speaks about how the devotees, he actually speaks about the importance of devotee association. He talks about the 3 modes of material nature. In the Bhagavad Gita also, it is explained that devotees are above the modes of material nature. Now, let me pause here. How many of you feel, does anyone here think that they are 100% above the modes of material nature? Yes or no? No, exactly. So when I listened to this seminar on the Harinam Chintamani, the point was made that when Prabhupada, in his books, when Prabhupada talks about devotees, he means pure devotees. So there are pure devotees, and then there are sadhakas. So this first S stands for seniority, the root of the roots of bhakti, and that which guarantees that we are going to make strong association. as Bhakti Dhira Damodara Maharaj excellently explained in his previous class just now, is that we need the association of real devotees. Okay, so this S stands for seniority. Do I regularly take shelter of and take guidance of advanced devotees, not just devotees, but advanced devotees? This is the root of bhakti. And it is also explained that in Madhurya Kadambini, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is also explained that that association is important in the beginning of our spiritual life as we advance, and it's even important even at the highest levels of spiritual advancement. So I want you to give yourself a rating out of 10. How well do I connect with advanced association on a regular basis? If you do this a lot, your score will be nearer 10. If you don't do this very much, it's nearer 0, nearer 1. Okay, so that's the first point, seniority. I'm going to go on to point number 2. So after seniority is sincerity. In the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada gives the, we'll come back to that later on. See, Prabhupada was asked by Tamal Krishna Maharaj, asked Prabhupada, how many pure devotees are there on the planet? Which is an incredible question. Prabhupada's answer was, he said, how many devotees are there in ISKCON? And Prabhupada said, as many devotees as there are in ISKCON, there are at least that many pure devotees on the planet. What do we mean by this? Prabhupada talks about the green mango and the ripe mango. This sincerity means the purpose behind the activity. You know, the formula given in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the formula for pure devotional service given by none other than Rupa Goswami, who is in the spiritual world a very intimate associate of Radharani, Rupa Manjari. Rupa Goswami says, Anya Balasita Shunyam, Gyanakama Danavritama, Nukulenis Krishna Nishulanam Bhakti Uttama. This devotional service has to be done in a particular way. It is an activity performed for Krishna's pleasure. This sincerity means the activity is done for Krishna's pleasure, and an activity done favorably for the pleasure of Krishna and free of what? Free of the desire for karma, that's fruitive activities, and gyan, which is liberation. So sincerity means sincerity of purpose. And that also means when the activity is done for Krishna's pleasure or the pleasure of Krishna's representative. We are very fortunate because not only Srila Prabhupada, but so many of Srila Prabhupada's followers, so many of these exalted gurus who are followers of Srila Prabhupada, they are so kind, loving, and affectionate that we naturally feel inspired if we tune in to what they are offering. And if we tune into their example, we become naturally inspired to do something, to do some service for their pleasure, because we want to reciprocate with the love and the affection and the encouragement and all these gifts that they've given us. So the second rating, I'm going to ask you to give yourself a mark out of 10. When I do my service, to what degree do I do it for the pleasure of Guru and Krishna? Again, give yourself a rating out of 10 for this sincerity. And then we're going to move on. The next one is seriousness. So here, the story that Prabhupada gives in a purport in the Bhagavad Gita. Many of you will be familiar with the story of the sparrow who loses her eggs. So she asks the ocean, can you give me my eggs back? The ocean says, leave me alone, get lost. I'm not going to do anything for you. But she's so serious. She's so determined that she starts on the journey of removing the water from the ocean, one beakful at a time. Now, let's be very clear. If she does this, she's going to die in the process of trying to get her eggs. I was listening to a very wonderful class. It was Sankirtan Memories by Shiv Ram Swami. I was listening to the class this morning, and he mentioned how they were in O'Hare Airport, which is in Chicago. And when Prabhupada came there, he looked at the title of the airport. It says O'Hare Airport. Hare is spelled H-A-R-E. So what did Prabhupada do? Prabhupada told one of his disciples, he said, go to the controller of this airport and tell them to rename the airport O Hare Krishna Airport. That's what Prabhupada told his disciple. And you know what his disciple did? He got up, he went straight to the office of the people in charge of the airport, and he told them, he said, we request on behalf of my guru that you change this airport, change the name to change the name. It says O'Hare, so you don't have to change the first part, but add Krishna, O Hare Krishna Airport, change the name. They didn't change the name. But what was interesting is that disciple had so much faith that when his guru told him to do this, he went immediately to do it. He didn't think, oh, it's not going to work. Oh, no one's going to listen to us. Oh, they don't really listen. He was serious. He had faith. He had faith that success lies in executing the order of the spiritual master by any means necessary. And when I heard that this morning, I lamented, because I thought, I don't have that strength, that seriousness. I'm not as serious, as faithful, as determined. And when I heard that, I thought, this is something I need to work on. So seriousness is this seriousness. The word of the spiritual master is, as Prabhupada says, our life and soul. So the spiritual master has given us an instruction. We now have to work, rack our brains, use all of our resources, external resources and inner resources, intelligence, association, to think, how will I execute, and to execute that order. And you don't need to worry whether it externally works out or not. That success is in the endeavor. Prabhupada, when he came to India, when he came from India to America, he wasn't sure how this would work. In his Jaladuta prayers, he says, Krishna, how will they understand your message? He said, you, please, if you wish, you can empower my words, my communication, so that they can understand your message. This is the beauty of Krishna consciousness, is that we're serious. And by the seriousness of a devotee, all the miracles will happen. So give yourself a rating out of 10. How serious am I? Okay. Give yourself a rating out of 10. How serious am I? Because these are the qualities. This is what it means to be a devotee, a spiritual warrior, when we are fighting against the tide of material energy. Okay. We'll go on to the next one. If I'm serious, that seriousness manifests in the form of activity. In other words, strong desire becomes activity. Just imagine this. A mother says, I love my child. Okay? Oh, I love my child. I really care about my child. I really want the best for my child. But she's not prepared to cook for the child. She's not prepared to clean for the child. She's not prepared to give time and attention and encouragement to the child. Oh, but it's okay. I love my child so much. I love my child. No. There's something wrong here. If the love is strong, it manifests in external service. Okay? So anyone can say that they love. Anyone can claim affection. But the sign, the symptom is that we serve. And it's very interesting. This service is not how much you do. It's how much you could have done. Krishna does not see what we do. He sees what we're holding back. It was a heartfelt association with a godbrother of mine in Mayapur. His name was Ganesham Prabhu. I think he was the first disciple of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. I met him in Mayapur. we were sitting down, he was sharing memories of Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And he told me a time where he felt very hurt by Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And he explained what happened. So they had done some book distribution marathon. And the next morning, they were reading out the scores. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was reading out the scores. And he read out the scores of many of the devotees, and they got a round of applause. They got some appreciation. Then Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj read out the score of Ganesham Prabhu. And he didn't say anything. After he read out the score, he just carried on. No appreciation, no round of applause, nothing. And interesting, Ganesham had done more than the others. He had distributed more books than the other devotees. And so later on, Ganesham was with Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj said to him, he said, I know you're upset that when I read out your score, I didn't say any words of appreciation, even though we appreciated everyone else. He said, I know you were upset by this. He said, but what you need to understand is that these other devotees, they did their best. They didn't distribute as many books, but they did the best that they could. So because I knew what they were capable of, and because they did the best that they could, they got a lot of appreciation. And he said to him, I know you did more books than they did, but I also know what you were capable of. And so because you did not do as much as you were capable of, you didn't get the same appreciation. Again, Krishna does not look at what we're doing only. He's looking more, how much am I holding back? Someone comes to the temple and gives a donation. They have £100 and they give £99 in the donation. That's 99% of what they have, they give as a donation. Someone else comes to the temple and they give £1,000. But that person is a multi-millionaire and they give £1,000. So on one level, the multi-millionaire gave more money. On another level, they gave a smaller percentage of what they had available. So we should now give yourself a rating out of 10. Think about your own capability, what you can give. And bear in mind, when I say give, I don't mean being foolish. I made a big mistake in my spiritual life at one point where I was giving, but I wasn't also taking care of my own needs on the human level so I could continue to give. So when we say service, I don't mean service in the mode of passion. I mean service in the mode of goodness, done in a way which is healthy, balanced, intelligent, and sustainable. Give yourself a rating out of 10 in this area. Okay. And then we'll go to the last one, I believe. Yes. The last point about being a spiritual warrior, and this is a big one for our movement, is strategy. So Prabhupada, he asked Giriraj Maharaj, he said, how will this movement continue in my absence? Giriraj Maharaj said to him, Prabhupada, if we chant and serve and hear nicely, then we will be able to spread it. Prabhupada, what did he reply? He said two things, organization and intelligence. Now, that does not mean that the chanting and the hearing are not essential. They are essential. But Tesham Satata Yuktanam, Bhajatam Pritipurvakam, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamamu Piyanti Te. If you're actually chanting and associating properly, what does Krishna promise? If you're serving properly, he says, I will give you the intelligence by which you can come to me. Right? So devotees, we should not, in the name of being devotees, be foolish, be sentimental, and be unintelligent in how we preach. There are many devotees, they are going to be shocked later on in their spiritual life because they'll think, I'm so great, I'm doing so much for Krishna, and Krishna will show them, you haven't surrendered your intelligence to me. Your service is whimsical. You don't surrender your intelligence. You don't try to use your intelligence to think, how can I best serve? How can we deliver the message? How can we reach out to so many more people? There are some devotees, for example, you can see that they're good. They'll be very good and they can go on the radio, they can go on television, But because of sentiment, they want to preach to a few people here and there, when actually, if that same class was given on the internet, if it was given on a television studio, that same 1 hour class can reach 10,000 people instead of 10 people. But then they'll, oh, but I'm such a great devotee. I'm so sincere. But do you use your intelligence to see how you can serve best? So the days of being sentimental are gone. This point is very, very important. We have to also be strategic. And that's our line, by the way. Prabhupada was very strategic. If you look at how Prabhupada preached, it's incredible. I'll give you one example. Prabhupada's preaching to the hippies, to be honest, and many of us don't know this, that was not his original plan. If you read Lilamrita, the preaching to the hippies that Prabhupada did, that was plan B. Plan A, before Prabhupada even came to the West, he was writing to very influential people, telling them the importance of Krishna consciousness, the need for Krishna consciousness, saying we should collaborate together so to spread this glory of India throughout the world. That was plan A. So Prabhupada was always strategic. Even what Prabhupada is doing now. You look at the temple of the Vedic planetarium. You look at the architecture of the temple of the Vedic planetarium. The architecture is not Indian. But what did Prabhupada see? He saw that all the Indian people want to follow the West. You see? He saw all the Indian people want to be like the West. We're going to go to India with my Western disciples, and when they see the Westerners taking up their own culture, then they'll think, amazing, we should take this up. And similar with the Temple of the Vedic Planetarium, the architecture, it looks distinctly non-Indian. So they'll all think, wow, this is incredible. This is something unusual. They'll all come. Strategy. Strategy. Prabhupada, and this is the mood of our acharyas, they're aggressive. I repeat, they're aggressively trying to spread the mission. They're not just trying to take it easy. They're aggressive in their energy and in their strategy. With the limited time and energy we all have on this planet, how do I make the biggest impact in serving in such a way that it is offering the best that I can in Krishna's service? So we shared 5 factors, 5 key things to bear in mind, the 5S formula. I repeat, seniority, association with advanced devotees, sincerity, serving with the right motive or intention to please Guru and Krishna, seriousness, so having a determination, not giving up just because there's challenges, being tolerant actually, service, making sure that I don't think, oh, I've done so much, I'm a great person. No. Have you done as much as you can? Again, it's not what you give, it's what we're holding back. And the last one, strategy. This Tesham Satata Yuktanam, engaging our intelligence to serve as best as we can. This is how devotees are spiritual warriors. Okay, I'm going to stop here and we'll open up for questions.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. You can raise your hands on your virtual hands on Zoom. You can also post your questions in the Zoom chat. And for our YouTube and Facebook viewers, please, you can type in your questions in the chat box and we'll read it out here. Don't be shy. It was an amazing session. I really thank you, Prabhu. We should have questions coming soon. Devotees, don't hesitate. Raise your hands and ask your questions. Whatever your questions are on these 5 topics.
I can see one hand is up. Oh. Raj Prabhu has his hand up.
Yes, we have Raja Prabhu. You can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I want to know how do I find ways to do each one of them?
Yeah, very good question. Very good question. Okay, so let's take it step by step. So first of all, seniority. So for example, I mean, and this is something I definitely will do more of with Maharaj's permission. I remember myself and a friend of mine, Dhruva Maharaj, we were on a call with Bhakti Dhira Damodara Maharaj. I cannot stress enough this point. This point about the Sadhu Sangha, devotees, we become empowered by advanced association, right? If you think that you can go back to Godhead by your own strength, it means you do not understand our philosophy. I promise you, if you think you can do it by your own strength, you do not understand our teachings. Our teachings is that the advancement that we make comes by the blessings of great devotees. So when we try to serve them sincerely, when we try to take guidance, and when we execute on that basis, we get their blessings. And by us receiving their blessings, that's how we make advancement. Prabhupada explains this in first canto Bhagavatam. He says, for 3 different ways devotees go back. Nitya Siddha, they're already eternally liberated, such as Srila Prabhupada. Sadhana Siddha, they make advancement going through all the stages. Then Kripa Siddha. Kripa Siddha is advancement by mercy. Okay? So I encourage all of us, we should always try to especially hear from advanced devotees. We want to hear from all the devotees, but whenever we have an opportunity, we should hear from advanced devotees, try to get their blessings. First canto Bhagavatam, chapter 19, text number 12, in the purport, Prabhupada says, every major decision should be confirmed by some authority. That makes the matter, the activity perfect. So taking that guidance, getting that blessing, and acting in that mood of a servant. So that's how we do the seniority piece. So that's the first one. The second one we talked about was sincerity. So very simple. With sincerity, we can ask ourselves the question, why am I doing what I'm doing? And we could try, and really sincerity comes when we try to remember what was the instruction I was given, right? So sometimes there's general instructions. Sometimes there's specific instructions. And we try to follow those. Sincerity. I'm trying to develop a mood. It's a mood. I'm trying to do it to please my spiritual master, Prabhupada, Radha and Krishna. Right? I found this really useful. In the morning, I'll do a prayer. You know, whatever's best, to my spiritual master, to Prabhupada, to the Guru Parampara, whatever is best. You know what's best. Whatever's best. You know, whatever we need to become pure in your service, right? Whatever we need to have taken away to become pure in your service, you take that away. Whatever we need to experience, you arrange that. So it's the mood of Sharanagati, right? It's that mood. And honestly, I can tell you, I swear on my own life, it's changed my life. It's changed my life. It's not just in the beginning stages. You see this in Bhagavad Gita, beginning stages, Krishna says, whatever you do, etc., you offer it to me. So in the beginning stages, we're doing what we want and we're offering it to Krishna. But the real adventure begins when it's Krishna, what do you want? Guru Maharaj, what do you want? That's the mood of surrender, but it requires faith. So as we build our faith, we build our surrender. And as we build our faith and our surrender, then the miracles happen more and more, because surrender means to be carried by the mercy and the grace of Krishna. That's what it means. So that's how we practice sincerity. It can be practiced through prayer. It can be practiced through getting instruction, right? Like that. The next one we talked about was seriousness. The Goswamis explain that real faith, real Shraddha, is faith in the Shastra. It's called Shastriya Shraddha. And the Goswamis explain that by that faith, they explain it gives 2 things. It gives virya, which is drive, determination, and it gives smriti, the ability to hold the meaning of the teachings within one's consciousness. So this virya, this drive, this determination, if a devotee regularly, not just reads, not reading, I repeat, if a devotee regularly studies the scriptures, it will automatically give you strong determination. That is the gift of the regular study of the Shastra. It will give you strong drive and determination in your spiritual life. It will strengthen your willpower. You won't give up easily. So this is how we can practice seriousness. The next one was service. anyone can practice service. There's so much to be done in ISKCON, right? So the list is endless. You can do so many things. Look around you. There's always service. But I would add this service to this last one. The last one for service is strategy. So I encourage us. We want to push a revolution in our movement. I'll be honest with you. The revolution in our movement is not just to do service. No. The revolution is to do the best service that you're capable of, right? If you study our movement carefully, you'll see devotees do service, but they don't do it thoughtfully. So they do service, but they don't do strategic service. For example, I work in leadership training and development. That's my actual job. I do that for a living. And I speak to managers all the time about this. You sometimes have devotees who are good at something and they're not doing it. So think about that. You have in different yatras, the devotee who's good at management, he's cleaning the floor. The devotee who can't do management, he's in charge of management. The devotee who's good at painting, he's doing some other service, he's doing the cooking, and the devotee who's not good at painting is doing the painting. So you get less than you're capable of because we're not recognizing what are people's skills and talents, and then how do we engage them accordingly? In Lilamrita, when Prabhupada discovered that Tamal Krishna Maharaj was good at management, he smiled and he said, now you organize my movement for me. You see? So this is strategy. I've been thinking about this for years. Our movement could be at least 100% more productive if we simply were thoughtful about how we engage the devotees. I repeat, I really mean this. Our movement could be at least 100% more productive if we were thoughtful. My Guru Maharaj, he said this again, I saw him. He said that the devotees, we don't take inventory. We're not thoughtful. He said, if you're always just running around and you don't step back and think, how's the service going? What's going well? What can we improve on? How can we do this better? It's not thoughtful devotional service. Therefore, it's devotional service in the mode of passion and ignorance. So he said the trouble with our movement is we're always putting out fires. We're always dealing with one emergency and then another emergency and then another emergency because we're not proactively thinking, where are we now? What resources do we have? And what can we do to really move forward in a way which is more proactive, more visionary? And until we change that, we will never be able to give the full service to Prabhupada's mission that we can. So to Raj, that's my answer to your question. Those are some ways in which we can practice those areas. I hope that answers your question, Raj.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yes. Thank you for all your answers. They are very clear, and I noted them.
Thank you.
I could.
Thank you so much, Raj. So next we have Shukdev Prabhu. You can unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna Shukadev Goswami Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very, very much for the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful class. It was very, very penetrating, and it makes me to like sit back and like ask myself, really, I'm far, far below the scale, like 1 to 10. I'm far, far below of each and every one of them. Now, I have a question, Prabhu, and the question is, sometimes it is very difficult to keep up with the 5 S's that you've made mention of. Sometimes we might be keeping up with 2, and then the remaining 3 is lacking, or we might be keeping up with 3, and the remaining 2 is lacking. Now, how do we maintain that? How do we come to that point whereby we are able to have that balance, that the 5 X's, we are doing it, and none of them is lacking?
Yeah, there's a very easy way to do it. All you need to do is make it part of your schedule on a regular basis. For example, so we talked about being serious, and we talked about how by study of scripture we can develop determination. So rather than making it something that you have to remember to study, one way you could do it, you could say that, okay, one friend of mine, every Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m., we've got time. We make it a regular thing in the diary. So then it's something that's a regular. You see, and because it's me and another person, he's keeping me accountable, I'm keeping him accountable. So you make it something which is a scheduled, regular thing. So that's one point. Seniority. Okay, so let me pull in the diary. I know that there are senior devotees who give regular classes, like Bhakti Dhira Damodara, he'll give regular classes. I heard the announcements. Okay, let me put it in my diary. Every fortnight, I'm just gonna make sure I come to that class. So I know it's regular in the diary. I don't have to remember to do it. It's something that's in the diary. It's part of my normal schedule. Just like, for example, many of you work. You don't have to remember to go to work. You don't have to think, oh, what do I need to do this morning at Monday? Oh, no, you don't have to remember because you know the work is irregular, right? You 9 o'clock in the morning till whatever time you finish, Monday to Friday, you're at work. It's not something that you have to spontaneously remember. It's a regular thing in the diary. That's the solution. You see, it doesn't have to be hard, actually. It doesn't have to be hard, but we have to put it into our schedule. If you put something into the schedule, it guarantees not only that you'll do it regularly, but even more important, and this is very important, when you do something regularly, it compounds, it builds up on itself. Does that make sense? If you read every now and then, you get one effect. But if you read regularly, it builds on itself, because what the reading does is it creates deep samskars in the consciousness. Why? Because if the samskars if the impressions in the consciousness are very deep, then what happens is at the time of death, the deepest samskars are those which will be triggered, and that will cause us to have a certain type of remembrance. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ante kalichamam meva, smaranmutva kalevaram, yaprati samadbhavam, yati nastrasya samsayaha. Well, one thinks about the time of death. That determines where we are going, you see? So it's not just doing it, it's regular. Prabhupada, he's so brilliant. Prabhupada, in his 7 purposes of ISKCON, he talks about the systematic propagation of this movement. Now, people think it means systematic means giving it to everyone else, but systematic propagation has 2 dimensions. Systematic propagation is giving it external. Systematic propagation is also regularly taking it yourself. Does that answer your question, Shukadev Goswami Prabhu? I can't actually hear you because you're muted, but I assume that's okay.
Perfectly, Prabhu. Thank you very much. I'm very, very satisfied. Thank you.
So I'll just say, even after this call, anyone, we can sit down with a diary and we can think, okay, how can I put these 5 things into my diary so they happen on a regular basis? It's that simple. If we want to do it, we can. So where will I find the time? Okay, I'll pull up a Monday evening. I've got some time. I'll do some reading or with a friend every Monday evening like that. I want to get senior association. Okay, which gurus? When's my Guru Maharaj speaking? He speaks he speaks on these times. Okay, I can put this into the diary so I can regularly hear from my Guru Maharaj. Have I got instructions for him? Okay, maybe I can write to him and say, Maharaj, is there any instruction? Whatever it is. You can go even after this call, immediately put it into your diary, immediately you're moving forward. Immediately your spiritual life has shifted up a gear. Yeah. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, that was a brilliant answer. So next we have Jayananda Prabhu. So please unmute your mic and ask your question.
Hare Krishna Babuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Please accept my humble obeisances as judges for you this week. So I thank you for the wonderful lecture that you gave. And there were many striking points that you mentioned. But I'm taking to the point on service. You mentioned that service doesn't mean that what we are doing, but rather what we are holding back.
Yes.
So Krishna says what we are holding back. So if you could elaborate a bit on that aspect.
Yeah. It's in essence, what it means is it's not just about doing service. We should do as much as we can, the best in quality and quantity. That's what we're trying to get for. And even if we feel that we can't do it overnight, but we should be moving in that direction. I'll give you an example. I know many devotees in this country and in other countries where what they're thinking about is how do I arrange my life so that eventually I can serve full time, for example, right? It may not be when they have children when they're young, because maybe they'll need to give it a bit more time, but they're thinking like that. They're thinking, how do I get to a point where I can give more time and more energy to the mission, right? So that's how I mean by this. So it's like, yes, I'm doing what I can, but between these hours, yeah, okay. And if that's the best you can do, fine, Krishna will accept it. But if you're able to arrange in such a way that you can do more, but without falling down, without becoming like getting into some kind of emergency, then we should be doing that also. You see, again, it links to this idea. We should be doing our devotional service, also surrendering our consciousness. When you surrender your consciousness, you don't just think, I just do whatever is around me. I think, how can I offer the best and the most service? Even more, actually, to be honest, even more important, how can I do exactly what Guru and Krishna want me to do? That's the best. My prayer, and again, it's changed my life, is not just I feel like doing this or I feel like doing that. What I pray is whatever you want, to our gurus, to Prabhupada, whatever you want, you know what's best for me. I've tried to enjoy it in this material world. It didn't work. It was just nothing, some temporary thing and all this, it didn't work. But I saw that when I did what you want, then I suddenly felt this deep ecstasy, this deep contentment, this deep bliss, and all the miracles happened. So that's the mood, okay? So it's about thinking, how can I maximize my service, but not in an artificial way, right? Through developing that faith and being intelligent about how you do it. How can we do better, right? How can I offer more of what I'm capable of, Jayananda? That's the point. And you know what? To do this, you should consult. If you really want to get ideas, look at what other devotees are doing, get ideas from them. Ask them for their feedback. Prabhu, you've known me for many years. Where do you think are the opportunities for me to serve better? In quality and quantity, right? Get their ideas. Speak to your spiritual master, get his feedback, and you can also try different things and see what happens. But this is the idea. Because if every one of us, rather than just doing whatever happens to come to mind, if every one of us thought, how can I do the best that I can? Think about it. This movement has millions of members around the world. Millions. But we don't think like this, do we? Be honest. You see the devotees around the world. Devotees don't think, how can we do the best service? How can we offer the most service? We don't think like that. We think, yeah, I'm at my local yatra. I come to the temple. I'll do some washing of the pots. I'll do something here. I'll do something there. It's not that it's wrong. That's not wrong. But it's not necessarily optimal. And because we think small time, that's why we're blocking Prabhupada's mercy expanding into the world more. Because we think small time. We don't think, how can we do the best service? How can we reach more people? How can I become more Krishna conscious myself? How can we do better to make the devotees stronger in our reading, in our chanting? That's the point. It's a different mentality. We don't think like this. And that's our weakness. So have I answered your question? Have I done enough to elaborate on this point about not what we're just giving, but it's actually what we're holding back? Jayananda.
Yes, thank you. Yes,
thank you.
Now, there is another aspect of the service. Like we have to do the service like a manual servant. So how does this characteristic aspect fit in this concept?
Yeah, everything should be done as a menial servant. It doesn't matter what you do, because we know that, look, let's make it very clear. So Prabhupada was chastising one of his disciples. What he did is he actually explained, he said there are, from the pores of Mahavishnu, there are innumerable universes coming out. And then there's one universe, very small, which is this universe that we're in. In this universe, there are countless planets, right? Galaxies and so on. And then we're in one small galaxy within this universe. In this galaxy, there are countless planets. And this Earth planet is one tiny planet, like a speck of dust amongst all these planets. On this Earth planet, there are many continents. And of these continents, one continent is America. And in America, there are many states. And there's one state. And in this state, there are many buildings. And there's one building which is a Hare Krishna temple. And in this one building of this Hare Krishna temple, there is this one disciple of mine who thinks he's very important. So what Prabhupada was doing is showing that we are tiny. Let's say one devotee was able to offer this entire earth planet to Krishna. It means that they've offered a tiny speck of dust to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We're tiny. So this idea of a menial servant, anyone who understands how small we are will always have the mood of a menial servant. The difficulty is we're biased. What do I mean by biased? Instead of comparing ourselves to the great devotees and feeling small, we compare ourselves to the junior devotees and think we're big. You see, it's a bias. People say, oh, but Prabhu, I sometimes feel proud when I do some service. That means you're not thinking of Prabhupada. If you think of Prabhupada's service coming in advanced age, when you think of Prabhupada writing all these books, when you think of Prabhupada sleeping 2 hours a day, when you think of Prabhupada, all this correspondence, when you think of Prabhupada suffering 2 heart attacks just to come here, when you think of Prabhupada coming alone, how can we feel that whatever we've done, we should be proud? Who's done something compared to Prabhupada that they could feel proud about? Anyone? Raise your hands. If you think you've done something that when you compare it to what Prabhupada's done, when you think, anyone who thinks like that, just show me, raise your hand. I just want to see if anyone thinks that what I've done compared to Prabhupada can make me feel proud. No one can feel that way. It's because we're not in touch with reality. We're looking in the wrong direction. So the new person who doesn't know anything, I know more scripture than he does. Yeah, but he's new. Do you know more scripture than Prabhupada knows? Do you know more scripture than your guru? If you know scripture, do you know it from yourself? Did you create that knowledge? Or did you hear from your seniors? So your knowledge is actually their mercy. You know because they studied and they told you. So this is what it means to be a menial servant, is to understand there's no question of being proud. The moment I remember, the moment I reflect and appreciate my seniors, there's no pride. The pride comes only if I ignore my advanced seniors and I look at the people who are junior to me. If I don't do that, I cannot be proud. And therefore, if I don't do that, I'm always in the mood of a menial servant, because if I offer the whole world to Krishna, I've offered him like a piece of dust, one grain of sand in his creation. So therefore, if we remember that, then we won't be worried. We'll always stay in the mood of humility, which is the mood of a menial servant, Jayananda. Have I answered your question?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, is that answer your question? Okay, thank you for your question.
Okay. We will take just one last question. Matsya Prabhu, you can unmute yourself and ask your question. Thank you.
Matsya Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Sometimes some devotees, they can come from a background that is very difficult for them to practice Krishna conscious, for following the principles and chanting 16 rounds and etc. Or maybe the devotee, the person has joined ISKCON after, being old or something like that. Mm-hmm. And these people, they often feel that they are not up to the standards, or they are never going to be on the standards that are expected for devotees in ISKCON in general. So these people, they may feel very discouraged to practice devotional service, or even other devotees may look to them and see them to be, impure or unprepared, or, something like that. So how can we encourage these people in those circumstances to practice devotional service and feel appreciated, not feeling that they are too low or too unqualified?
Good question. Okay, so this is a very good question to end on. There's a few things I want to bring out here which are very, very important. So please listen carefully. Point number one: everyone has their own battle of Kurukshetra. Okay, every one of us, and everyone has different tests. So one person comes when he's old, and he thinks, "Oh, the test is I've got old age." What he doesn't understand is that the devotee who's young, they think my test is I'm young, my parents aren't favorable. So because I'm young, I can't do everything I want. And so my youth is a test. The other devotee thinks, oh, your youth is good. And they think my old age is a test. No, everyone has a different test. So we have different tests. It's not that it's easier for the young devotee than it is for the old devotee. It's different tests. You see, that's the point. So point number one is we all have our own battle of Kurukshetra, and we're responsible for that because of our own previous decisions. So that's not to make us feel down, but it's to make us feel responsible. Okay, so we all have different battles of Kurukshetra. We're always responsible. Now, the third thing is, it is our job to find association that encourages us. Okay? I repeat, people sometimes, people say, the devotees aren't encouraging. No, your job is to go looking for the devotees who will encourage you. You see, if you're finding that the association isn't encouraging, then go looking elsewhere. I'm going to be very honest with you. There are some very advanced devotees in our movement. And what I've seen is that sometimes the junior devotees or the young, let's say the less advanced devotees, they think that the seniors should run after them. No. We're meant to pursue the seniors. You see? I see this all the time in ISKCON. Guru Maharaj doesn't come over. Guru Maharaj didn't come to visit us this year. What's wrong with Guru Maharaj? No. If he doesn't come, he's a senior. You're meant to pursue him. You understand the point? And if you're not prepared to pursue, what you're actually telling Krishna is, I don't care so much about making advancement. Because yeyatamam prapadyante, right? As you surrender, Krishna will reward you accordingly. My spiritual master gave an example. He said, let's say you have a job. Your manager is very strict. You have to be in the office every day from 9 a.m. in the morning till 5 p.m. in the evening. Very strict. You can only go to lunch between 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock. Your manager is very strict. Now, you find out that on 2 o'clock, on Monday, 2 o'clock, the bank near your office is giving $1 million to everyone who comes to the bank at 2 p.m. Okay, I repeat, your manager's strict. You work 9 till 5. You can only go to lunch 12 o'clock till 1 o'clock. You find out that at 2 o'clock at the bank, they're going to give £1 million or dollars to everyone who comes. It doesn't matter how strict your manager is. You are going to find some way to be at the bank at 2 p.m. to claim your money, right? What does that mean? It means if I understand how precious the gift is, how precious the gain is, I'll be prepared to go through some challenge and difficulty to achieve it. Okay? So in the same way, yes, we want to be encouraged. Okay, go and find the people who are going to encourage you. Yeah. That's really, really important. We want to find the people who will give us that encouragement so we can achieve that goal. Give me 1 second. Okay. So I think we have to end here.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, bro. It was really a fiery, enthusiastic class. That's the end we all wanted to this Madhurya Kadambini. We are completely not drenched in the shower of Madhurya Kadambini. So I really thank you, Prabhu, for taking out time for us. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
It's a sweet end to our 5 sessions. But before we end, we would like to thank people who are involved. There are many people who have worked behind the scenes, but to carry out this event of this magnitude, we all need constant, direction and planning. So I would like to call out two special names, Namisharana Mataji and Avesh Rupa Prabhu, who were the organizers for this particular event, for this third global event, who took the helm and became the captain of a ship and led them beautifully. So thank you so much, Prabhu, and thank you so much, Mataji, for leading us and getting such sweetness in the program. And we also thank all the other devotees as well who were part of the program and serving team. And next, I would like to thank our inspiration and our spiritual strength, Srila Gurudev, and I would like to invite him for some kind concluding words. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. We be very happy with all of you for making this wonderful arrangement that we have been associating with each other for these 3 days in a very powerful way. Instead of wasting our time for mundane sense gratification, we become attached to material world, increasing our envy and false ego because of ignorance, illusion. We have come together to appreciate what our charities have given to us, Srila Visvanatha Cakravarti Thakura, and His Holiness Bhakti Maharaj, who carefully helped us to explain or to help us to have a glimpse into the ocean of Madhurya Kadambini. And it's our desire and prayer that our chariots and our special masters will have the blessing for all of you, this wonderful service you have done. And many people have benefited from it. And all of us have the chance to do some service, work as a team to bring something together. We're grateful and we pray that all of you remain blessed by the best. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Srila Gurudev, for the empowering words and the blessings. It was really an amazing journey for the 5